Hello and welcome to another episode of SoFly.
Hi.
Yeah.
Was I supposed to say something?
You can.
Well, I guess I just did.
Oh my god. It's June 11th, and we're back recording another episode. This episode's coming out on June 15th, of course, and today we've got a fun one for you because we're talking about a trip we recently took to Manitoulin Island with...
Brian Still of Stillwater Fishing. Well, it wasn't just Brian. Unfortunately, Mitch, you weren't on this trip.
I know I wasn't, which is kind of a bummer. But it was, I was away for work for like a long time.
Yeah, I know. Which, of course, we'll get into that. But yeah, it was a trip that we took to McGregor Bay, which is close to Manitoulin Island. We weren't actually on Manitoulin Island. We were just south of Espanola in northern Ontario.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And which is actually Brian is part of the Whitefish First Nation up there.
Yeah.
And we were staying at, if everybody remembers those wicked events we did with Coup d'Etat.
Yep.
Ryan from Coup d'Etat, formerly of Coup d'Etat, he's no longer with Coup d'Etat. He got out the hat game. Coup d'Etat is still going strong, but Ryan wanted to shift to a life outdoors, so he's not making hats anymore. And part of this shift is that he invited us up to his partner's cabin, Mattia's cabin. So they're actually going to live there this summer.
Yeah.
In Georgian Bay, the North Shore of Georgian Bay, in McGregor Bay.
It's fun.
So it was really long-winded, but it was me, Ryan, Aidas, Brian, our guide, and then Ryan's partner, fiance, Mattia, whose cabin it was that we were staying at. And holy crap, was it gorgeous. But we'll get into that later.
And Mitch, right? Mitch Bowmile.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, and Mitch Bowmile from North Country Media House. He was,
but of course,
capturing all the video, which was awesome.
Well, we'll get into that in a short little bit, but why don't we just start with how we always start? How's things going with us?
Well, Mitch, I think I would like to ask you that question because you were gone for 3 weeks on a whirlwind tour shooting ads for your clients. You were in, where were you, buddy? You were like Vermont, you were Arizona, Georgia. Oh my God.
We haven't even spoke yet, really.
No, I know.
I was in Vermont, and then we flew to Vegas, drove to Arizona. Then we drove to Phoenix, flew to Atlanta, drove to North Carolina, and back to Atlanta to Toronto. So it was like in total, I went to technically 7 states over those couple weeks, those few weeks doing the shoot.
What was your favorite?
Vermont, which is funny because it's so close. And I've been to Vermont before, and I probably will go back because I bought a year fishing license. Yeah, it was great. It was just so beautiful. I mean, it was all awesome. I'd never been to Arizona before. Pretty cool place.
Isn't it beautiful?
It is. It is very beautiful. It's very hot. It was like 112 Fahrenheit.
Christ.
And like the wind hits you, and it feels like, you know, when you're cooking a chicken in the oven and you open the door and the hot air hits you. That's what the wind was like. The wind was hotter than the air. I was like, good Lord. And I know now what people mean when they say dry heat, because it just feels like a sauna. Like it just literally feels like that's what it feels like. It was cool, but it was a beautiful place. Lake Havasu, which is a cool little location in the middle of kind of the desert. It's about 2 hours from Vegas, 3 hours from Phoenix. So yeah, it was cool. And also Georgia was beautiful when we got to Georgia, you know?
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
The Georgia peaches. Oh man.
That's one state I haven't been to. I've been to a lot, and that's one I haven't.
It was very nice. And we went all the way up to the North Carolina border, and so we were in North Carolina for dinner one night at a really good little restaurant. What was it called? Something I can't remember. But it was great. It was like a brewery. Nocturnal, maybe? I think it was Nocturnal Brewery in North Carolina. It was great. It was fun. The shoots went well. Spent a lot of time on the water.
Yeah, I was going to say, you look sun-kissed, my dude.
Got serious tannage.
If you want, you could always flip over to our YouTube and just look at that sweet, sweet sun-kissed skin of Mitchie right now.
And I had a beard on the whole shoot, and when I got back, I shaved it off to just have a mustache. So half of my head's tanned, and the bottom half's pretty white.
True.
So
still good though. Looks good.
Thanks, baby. But yeah, it was fun.
Can we say who you're hanging out with in Vermont?
I feel like it's maybe a bit top seek.
Oh, my bad. Okay, cool.
but also maybe not. But let's just keep it top secret because
But it was let's just say
I
it
don't want to
was
get in
with
trouble.
some friends,
Yeah, it was with
some
some. It
fly
was with
fishy
some.
friends. So that's
Yes,
really cool.
some very very nice, talented fellows. Extremely talented group of people
Mhm.
that smoked it out of the water, and it was a total joy to work with them. I was really happy that all worked out, and
Mm.
that we got to do that because yeah, I'm really happy with where the work's ending up. So yeah, stay tuned for some ads. I'll tell you when they're out next on one of the upcoming shows.
Oh, for
But
sure. Yeah, I'm stoked to see
yeah,
'em.
16 days on the road. I didn't get sick, which is fucking a godsend.
I know, because you always get sick on trips, buddy. No
I was
offense.
like, please don't get sick, and I
No
didn't.
offense.
It was great. Of course, I
Um,
mean, I'm not. It's no offense. No offense, take all.
I mean,
It's
oh my
just
god, no offense.
it's just a thing that seems to happen. But it was great. It was an awesome trip, and also it was fun. It was a work trip, and it was really good to shout out to some of my colleagues who were, I mean, everybody on on the shoots were just like, it's great when you do stuff like that, and everybody's super fun to hang out with as well.
Yeah, especially
Makes
for
a
3 weeks.
Yeah, it makes a huge diff because everybody was just having a fun time, which makes the work better and everything better because just nonstop working, go go go, blah blah blah. So anyway, but I did miss the Manitoulin trip, and I'm excited to talk about it today. Of course, we're going to be getting more into that in a moment. We're gonna Me and Aldo are going to kind of recap. He's going to take me through a recap of kind of the highlights of the trip, and then we're actually going to talk to Brian in a little bit, and dive a little more into his life because he's a really interesting guy up north who
Mhm.
guides, has a
Mhm.
great guiding business.
Mhm.
But apart from, so I had a flurry of activity in terms of my travel life with work. Uh, what's going on? How else is it going down here? We
Well,
had some
you
events and
did you
stuff. Trout
missed actually, yeah,
rodeo.
you were kinda missed a lot
Yeah,
while you were gone.
yeah,
It's been a wicked month, to be honest, like, a wicked start to the month, like, we had 2 days ago, we had our 2nd year doing the trout rodeo with Good Lot Brewing, the Patagonia store providing, films, and, we screened, our little video from Marmac Lodge,
yeah,
the trip we took to Marmac Lodge last August, with Demisha from Brown Girl Outdoor World.
yeah. Which is on YouTube now. You can watch it.
It's live and streaming, baby. But that went really well. We actually, I can announce that we raised $2,000, which is great. So that
It's
brings
awesome.
the year total for the West Credit River to 7,000.
It's pretty good. And it's only June.
So I think that's going to be something we do every year. This is the 2nd year. So thanks to everybody who came out.
Yeah.
It sold out, which was amazing.
Mhm.
And man, Good Lot is such a beautiful place, and Phil is such an awesome host.
Oh yeah,
But it
such
just
a
it
nice
felt
fella.
like it kind of grew organically. Like there were more, like we sold out last year, we sold out this year, so there's the same amount of people coming. But there's just like, Ontario Streams was on hand. Like Rob brought the NRS raft. Like Drift was on hand.
Yeah.
He's got this hilarious. He had this hilarious idea where he's done it twice now.
Mhm.
Where he's got people casting out of the raft like it's a flat skiff, and he's
Yeah.
got a bonefish taped, like a cardboard bonefish taped to an RC car, and he
Yeah.
drives the RC car like a bonefish. And if you hit the bonefish,
It's
you get a
awesome.
point, and whoever has the most points wins a $100 gift card. I thought that was really clever. It was really fun.
Yeah, it's great. It's
Um,
super fun.
I thought that was really hilarious. Um, and then the Coalition of the West Credit River, the ladies like Anne, had their like, I don't know what to call it, like a rummage sale. So like it's like it was essentially like an estate sale from um, just fly tying, flies, gear that was donated to them from members of the coalition, and members of the community,
Yeah.
and everything you buy goes to the West Credit. Remember last year I got that awesome fly wallet, just
Yeah.
like $2.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
this year I
great.
got some salmon flies that were beautiful. It was awesome.
Nice. Oh,
And the
sick.
films were great, and the beer was tasty. It was just a good day.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was cool. Not really many events coming up for us.
Yeah.
I know Drift has some. If you go over to driftoutfitters.com, they've got some courses coming up
Yeah.
in the month of June and then July. And of course, we always mention, go over to the Ottawa Fly Fisher. Oh my God, the OFS. What is it?
OFS,
The
yeah.
Ottawa Fly Fishing
Flyfish
Society.
Society, yeah.
Yeah, because
The
they've got
bass
their.
opener party actually on Saturday, June 15th, which is when the show comes out. So
Oh, sick. So if you're listening to this and you're driving around Ottawa, just wondering what to do with yourself,
Head to
go
Strathcona. I think it's Strathcona they're doing that,
Strathcona
but
Park.
yeah, there you go.
And then the next day, former guest Jeff Jackson is doing an intermediate casting class,
There you go.
which is cool. It's Champlain Park, 140 Carlton Avenue. $65 for members, $85 for non-members. Learn how to cast with Jeff Jackson.
Jeff Jackson. I love
Jeff
it.
Jackson.
One,
And then-
oh yeah, keep going.
And I think that's it, except for the biggest news of June. Mitch's birthday. No, it is Bass Opener, baby.
You know what that means. Watch out, bass, because everybody's freaking out.
I mean, I
catch
can't
bass.
wait to go bass fishing.
Same. Before we get into bass fishing, one thing I did want to talk about was, have you seen those signs up at the Credit River about the quarry, the mega quarry?
Yeah, that's the next. That's the next
beast to battle.
Exactly. Yeah.
So someone reached out to me, just with more details about it. I'm going to keep looking into it. And we're probably going to talk more about this in the coming days and weeks and months and whatever. It's just like Christ, like the thing can't get a friggin' break. Like it's like one thing after
the Credit
another.
Valley.
Yeah, it's like now there's this project where they want to propose to blast a hole over 80 feet below the water table, a quarry that's going to be situated on 798 acres of forest and farmland in the heart of the Caledon Greenbelt and Greenland systems in Peel. Obviously, blasting, I think it's a gravel or something out of this pit is going to, have impacts on the river system that we all are trying to protect. So, hey, here's another thing that we have to try to stand up for. So anyways, we're going to keep looking into it. If you want to look more into it as well, because I need to do the same thing, but fcpreservation.ca, fcpreservation.ca. They've got information there, and I'm going to look into it more. But, we need to do whatever we can to try to raise awareness of any issues that the river's facing. And here's another one. So anyways, something to keep looking into. I kept seeing signs about it, and then someone came and kind of spoke to me, and actually when John and I were out about it. And then I got an email, so I wanted to start calling it out because it's going to be something we're going to talk about more. Yeah.
Well, I'm just on wholevillage.org, and
you've seen some more info about it?
2019, a Brazilian conglomerate company called Votorantim Cimentos, which owns St. Mary's Cement, proposed to locate a mega blasting quarry on 800 acres of prime agricultural land adjacent to the Credit River, south of Alton. Differing from gravel pits, this is a plan to use explosives to blast 80 feet below the water table. That's nice. And release the rising water into the river. So the town of Erin's going to dump poo into the Credit River, and these guys are going to blast dynamite and put slurry into the river. That's nice. It's the last naturally occurring cold water stream in southern Ontario.
Could they pick a worse place to do these things?
For people that don't live here, this is this. If there are certain sections of the river, if Mitch and I held hands and spread our arms as wide as we could, that's how wide this river is.
Yeah,
it's not a big river, and it has the wild brookies.
It's just an exceptional piece of water and ecosystem. It's beautiful. We've done whole episodes on how much we love it. There's lots of great rivers and stuff, but there's something so special about Credit Valley, as everybody listening to this that's in the area knows. Can we just stop doing stuff like this? I mean, obviously people listening, I don't think the Brazilian mining companies tuning into SoFly, but
they should.
Maybe they should be. Maybe we should get them on the show. And
Ontario's open for business.
God.
So, yeah.
Could you pick a worse friggin' tagline too? Come on. Open for business.
Open for business.
Credit
really,
Valley.
It should just say, Ontario, we're paving the forest.
We're paving the province.
Yeah. Pave the province.
Yeah. Just take a note of the Sherwin-Williams book and just cover the earth. You know what I mean?
When we changed our tagline from yours to discover.
Yeah.
Open for business. It was brother, time to move.
Yeah, for real.
I don't know if the value system is where we want it to be, but that's a whole other podcast. But
yeah,
I thank you for bringing that up. It's it's like this river can't get a break.
No,
and it's just it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And you're right. You're right. We've got the Aaron one thing, and then we've got Slurry coming from this way, and it's just going to be this shit fest of.
Poo.
Anyways, we're angry. That's why we have this heated language. But keep listening because we're going to keep bringing stuff up. Watch our social, whatever, because they're doing they're doing meetings and demonstrations, all kinds of things like that to try to like organize and do stuff. They just had one on June 8th. I'm sure there's going to be another one coming up, another rally of some kind. So stay tuned for that. And like I said, tap into to that website, FC Preservation.
There were some amazing.
.ca.
Oh, sorry.
FCpreservation.ca.
FCpreservation.ca.
That's what I'm seeing as the kind of
It really like it breaks my heart. We had such a lovely day at Good Lot, and like Good Lot is a low impact solar powered hop farm and brewery. And we're in this like beautiful barn with all these like-minded people. There's like chickens running around, birds chirping, and everyone's there nerding out about their love for brook trout. We watch these amazing films by Hook A and Patagonia that the common thread between them is to be a steward for your land. We have literally Hook A's video was called Stewards of the Land. It was about protecting essentially Gross Mountain National Park in Newfoundland. And then we had Undammed, which was the work of the First Nation on the Klamath River.
Yeah.
Years
you said
of
fighting, an awesome film,
of
right?
fighting fighting dams on the Klamath because of the the depleting salmon stocks.
Yeah.
And after I think it was like 10, 15 years, this woman who was leading the charge.
Yeah.
Won. Like went to the Supreme Court
of
the US, and the first dam came down in 2024. So they're going to blow up 4 dams on the Klamath.
Wow.
And then this next one, which was about a passionate steelhead advocate, Tom, God, I can't remember his last name. It was actually a movie done by Chase White, who's been on the show, which was amazing.
The movie was called Tom, wasn't it?
The movie was called Tom, and Tom had a line in it. And I think a lot of people were like, took that as a big takeaway, which was he said, listen, everybody pays rent or their mortgage or taxes or something. We enjoy living and recreating in the space.
Yeah.
And if being a steward of the land or being interested in conservation is my rent, well, I'm going to pay it. Like I'm going to pay the rent to play in this space. And what that rent is
activism
and what can we do at SoFly? Like, I mean, there's only so much we can do, but we can definitely be a sounding board for these people and, and we can raise money and stuff. And so if you've got a dam you want to blow up, let us know. info@sofly.ca and, let's
try to spread the word and try to help organize.
Let's definitely say no to the Caledon mega quarry and
God, for real.
Stop dumping poo in our fucking rivers.
Mega quarry. Like
it's almost like a comical like episode of like Captain Planet. Like it's like we've become a satire of ourselves.
I know, it's like fake. It's like so it's so cartoonish in a way. It's just like could you get any more cliche with like I don't know, whatever. But stay tuned, and we're gonna keep thinking about what we can do to help do more to stop that. Maybe we can just go like pitch tents where the proposed site is and just refuse to leave. Do the whole like chain ourselves to a tree.
Or start flying drones into their fucking excavators.
Just start a war.
And then just go to jail.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I do well in jail.
Yeah? Do you? Oh, man.
No.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned for more on that stuff. But yeah. FCpreservation.ca.
Yeah. Yeah. But thanks to everybody for coming out. And thanks to, I'd say Chums, Hook. I got just a quick list of Chums, Hook A, Patagonia Toronto, obviously Good Lot Brewing, Brown Girl Outdoor World, the West Credit, Coalition of the West Credit, and all the players there like Ontario Streams and the Isaac Walton Club. Dean gave a fantastic talk before the movies, summarizing the problem and what we can do and what's been done, and also just like a history of brook trout and habitat degradation. It was amazing. It really was. Dean. I was like, damn, good job, Dean.
Sick.
And feel a good lot, and I feel like I'm I think I'm missing somebody, but anyway, to everybody who came out and gave money, thanks. It was awesome. Means a
Yep.
lot.
All right. Well, let's maybe take a break here and then come back and start talking about the trip.
Yeah, when we come back, it'll be McGregor Bay.
All right. So McGregor Bay. McGregor Bay?
McGregor Bay.
Excellent. So where's McGregor Bay?
Okay, so
What's the significance?
all right. Picture yourself in Ontario.
Picture yourself.
Sleeping on a plane. Matthew Goodman. So picture yourself in Ontario.
Yeah.
You're driving north now
Okay.
from Toronto, which is what
Yeah.
we did. We left at 4 a.m. We drove up through Georgian Bay. So we're going up the 400 here.
Mhm.
And we are skirting the, I guess you could say, southeastern shore of Georgian Bay. Georgian Bay is the largest bay in Lake Huron. It
Yeah.
is also the largest freshwater archipelago. It has 30,000 islands.
Wow. That's crazy. I didn't know
For
it had that many.
people that don't know, Lake Huron, of course, is one of the Great Lakes. It's bigger than some seas on Earth. This is a huge body of water. And
Yeah.
Georgian Bay is also a huge body of water.
Mhm.
But where we were, you drive up through Sudbury, and then you go west after you go through Sudbury, and you're on the Trans-Canada Highway.
Mhm.
You get off of Trans-Canada, you drive south through Espanola, and then we did some errands in Espanola, groceries,
Sure.
beer store,
Of course.
A&W.
Wow.
And I was driving up with Aidas, of course,
Yeah.
SoFly, and our good buddy Mitch Bowmile. Mitch Bowmile is North Country Media House. Mitch has guided Lady Evelyn trips with us before. He's a fantastic video shooter, and he was capturing the trip for us. So we swapped one Mitch for another.
There you go.
And we were driving to go meet Ryan and Mattia,
Yeah.
who are our gracious hosts for the weekend. Ryan, of course, is formerly of Coup d'etat, which I mentioned earlier. Ryan, this was all kind of Ryan's idea. Ryan was like, "Hey, my fiance Mattia's cabin is in McGregor Bay, which is the north shore of Georgian Bay in Lake Huron."
Right. It's like east of Brennan Harbor, which we've been to.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it's it's big water, but it's a
yeah.
lot of little inlets, so it's really really cool. So Ryan was like, "Hey, I think Mattia knows this guy Brian Still of Stillwater Fishing, and I reached out to him, and he would love to host us and take us fishing for 3 days, which was amazing.
Mhm.
And why don't you come stay at the cabin? It's an off-grid cabin, solar powered, in McGregor Bay on an island, on one of the islands in McGregor Bay." And we were like, duh. And the whole goal was to, because at this time of year, the pike are still, and I'm talking like big female 40 plus inch pike,
Yeah.
are laid up in the shallows. And we were trying to, that's after the spawn, they're feeding there before they move off the shallows and then into the deep water of, you can imagine how deep the water is in Georgian Bay and Lake
Yeah.
Huron. So the whole idea was to go chase really big pike when they were up shallow, and it's all sight fishing. For people that haven't been, this is a really beautiful part of the lake.
Yeah.
It's a lot of limestone and Precambrian rock, so rock before life existed on Earth.
Mhm.
There isn't a lot of like, I don't know, like it's a lot of exposed rock, a lot of Canadian shield. So the water is all, because of such high limestone, it's really clear. It's,
Mhm.
in a lot of parts, kind of looks like the tropics. It's very, very, very clear. It's super, super blue. It's aquamarine. It's super clear, and you can see, and so you can sight fish these massive pike. And so that's what we were going to do,
Yeah. That
and
was the goal.
and that was really rad. So we got up, we got up at 4. We got everything done pretty much by 11, which we were meeting Mattia and Ryan at the docks at Stillwater Marina. So
Mhm.
Brian's family is part of the Whitefish River First Nation,
Yeah.
and Brian's family owns the marina that we were meeting
Oh,
him
there you
at.
go.
And he was born and grew up there. That's where Brian was born. That's where he still lives today. Brian Brian's done a lot of living. He's fished for steelhead out west. He goes down south for a month every year to Belize to chase tarpon, and actually in San Pedro where Rob and I have been, and so that was kind of cool. So he does that every year. He's fly fished everywhere. He catches huge muskie, huge pike, and huge bass and huge gar on the fly,
Okay.
all in these waters, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were there to go. We arrived to a brilliant sunny day, and a smiling Mattia with her dope Stanley boat, which is like these steel boats because there's all these shoals.
Oh yeah.
Man, it's gnarly.
Yeah, I bet.
If you don't know where you're going. If you know where you're going, it's like the most beautiful boat ride ever.
Huron in general, max depth 750 feet.
Wow.
It's big. That's a deep lake. I think it's the second deepest, and then Superior's like, crazy, but
yeah. So we're close to Killarney Park, if people know where that is, and we're near the La Cloche mountain range, which is really cool, and which is all this exposed rock. It has some. Ontario doesn't have massive elevation, but I would put it in the Adirondack. It's definitely bigger than the Gatineau Hills.
Oh, wow.
And
so
it's really
kind of
interesting.
Pretty legit.
It was like, Mitch Bowmile had hiked the La Cloche Trail before.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, seeing it from down here is what a different perspective. He's like,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it really does have a lot of elevation. Like he said, I was like gassed by the end of the trip. I wasn't expecting it to be so arduous. Because
you feel pretty like out there too, eh? Like it feels pretty
You
remote.
really feel out there. It's like, whew.
I mean, it's pretty remote.
It's so beautiful. Oh my God.
It's
about a 5.5 hour drive, so it's really not that bad. It's like driving to Ottawa.
It's not far, yeah.
And like from here anyway. And
from Toronto.
Maybe a little bit more. But
yeah.
But it didn't feel that arduous of driving, man. They really undersold the cabin. This place was gorgeous.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
It's not a cabin. I mean, it is, but it's
very comfortable.
I don't know. The boathouse is 2 stories with 2 bedrooms. With 2 bedrooms, sleeps 4.
Oh, sick. That's just
and
the
it's connected by a bridge to the main lodge, which is like so quaint.
Yeah.
And they have like this whole back bay, and man, if bass was in season, brother.
Yeah. Because it's just full of bass.
Ugh. We were seeing crazy bass. I mean, some were on their beds, but everything was really early, so some things were like a lot of the fish were off their beds, like they had already spawned.
Right.
And everything was done, so everything was a bit early because ice out was 3 weeks earlier than
normal. Yeah. Huh. So, well, I mean, we're going to get into this, but I must have affected the fishing a little bit.
Sure did, brother.
Okay, well, before we get into that, so you get set up at the camp, and it's beautiful, and blah blah blah, and you meet Brian, and
well, we haven't met Brian yet.
Meet him the next day.
The day, we were coming in on the Thursday because we were there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Left the Monday. This is Thursday.
Yeah,
we drove in. We got all set up. We see the cabin, unload the food, have some lunch.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty like, well, we should probably go fishing, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so we went fishing. We explored around the bay, and it's not like a humongous bay, but it was it honestly just started to become it started this little evening tradition of like, I mean, obviously we stayed out quite some time that day because we had the time. It was like, man, we got there so early. It was like 3:00. So what we did is we fished a bit in the afternoon, had dinner, and then went back out for sunset. And that was kind of like, it turned into a mini tradition. We would eat dinner every night, and
it's fun.
Go on the water, just us, and Mattia would come, and
and
she, we would all fish together, and Mitch got a chance to fish because he was shooting all day, and it was like just a fun way to like wrap the day up,
Yeah. Lovely. Okay, so then the next day you met Brian, and then how many days did you have?
So we had Friday, Saturday, Sunday with Brian. We had 3 days with Brian.
Okay, so how did those kind of 3 days go?
Well, I mean, if I was going to paint a picture, I think Brian might say the same thing. It definitely was a grind. Like the ice out being early, the weather kind of being warmer than maybe we thought it was going to be. Like it was pretty comfy on the boats, man. Like, day 1 was pretty hot, to be honest.
Right, it was like summer.
Yeah, and so the pike just weren't shallow.
Yeah.
Well, okay, sorry. The big pike, we were there for like 40+ inch fish. Like we were trying to find a 20 to 30-pound pike.
These fabled fish that Brian's kind of honed in on season wise.
Exactly.
And he'll have days during this period where it's just like, whoa. Yeah.
And at this time of year, bass is closed, and so is muskie. So it's like it's pike
Right.
or gar pike.
Muskie's closed too, huh?
Yeah. So like we were 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 week or two, like a handful of time early for muskie. So it was pike or gar pike or bust.
Yeah.
And or bust.
Or bus.
Or bust. But it was fun. Like we met Brian. First of all, he picks you up. I thought we were gonna boat into the marina. It's like a 15-minute boat ride. No, he picks people up from their docks. How fun is that?
That's awesome.
So he just like in the morning, he's like, yeah, I'll meet you at 9. He was there at 9. He's got this beautiful kingfisher, 18-foot. It's a dock. Yeah. It's a dock with a 100 horsepower motor.
Like a big old center console?
No, it's a side con, but it's like a kingfisher is like the boats you see in BC that they use
they're all like welded
in the sound,
Yeah.
Because this is big friggin' water. And he does a lot of trolling too. He does a lot of like the salmon trolling.
Oh, these things. Like, did it have the like the cabin?
Yeah. Well, we didn't put the cabin up.
Okay, so it's a modular.
But it had it's like a
I'm seeing
you
this.
could put the bimini up or down.
Yeah.
But we had it down, but there's still the windscreen.
Yeah.
And it's just really comfy. Like there's a lot of space.
Yeah.
It's great because there was 4 of us, 2 people shooting, 2 people fishing at a time, and Brian. So it was actually like really spacious. There's a lot of places, and it didn't look. When we're on smaller boats and we just have like all this camera gear and all the fishing gear and it just kind of looks fucked. It's just like there's so much shit. There was like, it didn't feel that way. Everything felt nice and tidy and like everything had its little place. And it was really like the casting platform on the bow was amazing.
Yeah.
And honestly, the stern too, there was very little line traps. It was amazing.
That's sick.
So yeah, it was really cool. Like, Ryan has recently, in the last year or 2 got into fly fishing, and this was his first time really targeting pike on the fly. And he was stoked too because, being welcomed into Mattia's family means having access to his cabin. So he was really stoked to like explore the area because he's new to the area. And like I said, it's pretty treacherous boating. So it's kind of intimidating to boat around there.
Yeah.
So like you could tell he was really excited to like learn this,
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So day 1, we were like, we start going around. It's kind of a grind. We are picking up fish. Ryan catches his first fish on the fly.
Very exciting.
Which is amazing. So we're picking up fish. It's just not the giants that, we were hoping for. Yeah. And we're just seeing like, dude, the most epic bass, like every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like either they're on their bed or they're just swimming by.
Beefers.
Like, ooh, 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 ooh. And so, yeah, so the first day was like super sunny. But then at lunch, we went to the marina at lunch, like Brian's like Stillwater Marina. And he showed us his glamping tents, like the geodomes.
Yeah.
Man, those are cool.
I'm looking at pictures of them right now on the website, amongthetrees glamping.ca. They're so nice, man. Holy crap.
I've seen pictures of geodomes before, like not just Brian's, like in general.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how nice these things were.
Well, he's got rooms built in them, like bathrooms made of wood and stuff.
And he has incinerating toilets, so like
kitchenettes. Yeah, this looks so sick.
Like, you have a whole wall as a window.
It's so sick.
You could be in there at night.
Yeah.
And still feel like, it's a great name, Among the Trees. Like you can watch the stars in the sky at night from inside.
I kind of want to build one of these things.
Oh man, if you had a
cottage,
if you had a cottage or like some land and you had like you wanted a guest cabin,
that's what I'm saying. Like that's exactly what I'm thinking.
They would be an epic guest cabin because they could be fully autonomous.
Yeah, exactly.
Have their own bathroom.
Yeah.
Kitchen, fridge.
Very cool.
Very cool. Anyway, so that's where we had lunch on the first day. It was really fun. Yeah. And then we hit the water, and every day was just kind of like that. It was like kind of like rinse and repeat. There's a few highlights from the first day. We went to Bay Fin, which is the world's largest freshwater fjord.
Cool.
It's kind of famous in the sailing community if you're a Great Lakes sailor.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people anchor because the water is just like unbelievably clear. You're on both sides of the fjord, or you're like hugged in by the La Cloche mountain range.
Yeah.
So it's just like this beautiful place,
Mhm.
this unbelievably beautiful place. And we got to the tip of Bay Fin, and we started spotting gar in the shallows. So we
Mhm.
started like going for gar. That was a big highlight of the day. Like we didn't, none of them ate, but it was like, yeah, it was like saltwater fishing. Like,
Did you get any follows?
Yep.
That's cool. That's pretty cool to see them, eh?
like you see them like clear as day. You know, you're
Yeah.
presenting a cast to them, and then they very slow. Like these are like 45-inch fish.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just like, and they're living fossils, man. Like they
Yeah.
haven't evolved. And they
Yeah,
just like
legit.
look at your fly, and you're like, oh man.
I had a follow on Champlain. I've never caught, still haven't caught a gar, but I had a follow and it was so crazy because it's like, yeah, exactly. It like turned around. He's like, hmm. I'm like, oh, and they're like, strip it, strip it. I'm like, strip it, strip it. And he's like, I'm about to eat it. He's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then he's like, nah, just leaves. I'm like, what?
That's exactly what happened to us. He was just they were
Yeah.
just like, huh? Huh? And we're on the
Yeah.
boat like, what? Huh?
Like,
And like
right about to eat.
Mitch is on the camera, Aidas is on the stills camera. I'm doing like stupid BTS on my phone, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, you know, and it's like Ryan, right? Like, and I'm just like, fuck, I just want this to eat for Ryan so
Yeah.
bad. Like all of us wanted it for Ryan so
Yeah.
bad. And it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
We all got a shot. We all rotated on the bow. We all got a good shot, and it just didn't happen, but it was really cool.
Yeah.
Another highlight would be Ryan catching his first pike on the fly. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Here's, yeah.
And then he got a massive fish to eat
Oh, man.
and just yeeted the biggest trout set you've ever seen. And that was just the end of that. It was
That's
a
awesome.
huge fish. It had to be over 40 inches.
Is what you were there for.
But you could see it all. Like,
Yeah.
it just rises out of the depths, and I'm just like, that's a big fish. And then it eats. I was like, oh my god, sad. And then he's just like,
Oh, it ate too.
yo man, it
Dang.
engulfed the fly.
Oh my god, damn.
And he just ripped it right out of its mouth. And Brian goes, so like I think we were on the bow,
yeah.
like me and Ryan.
Yeah.
And Brian's on the stern. Brian goes, oh man. He's like, what happened? And
Yeah.
Ryan goes, I don't know. I just kind of blacked out.
Yeah, for real, dude.
Yeah.
Those moments are terrifying. I've
Yeah.
had fish like that follow,
Yeah.
and you kind of freak out.
Yeah, you
I
do.
get it. I totally get it.
So that was really cool. It was you know,
That's
fishing
awesome.
was a grind, but man, we saw
Yeah.
a lot of places. And what's really interesting about you kind of feel like it's a weird like little microculture
Yeah.
there. Like you do feel like you're, I don't know, like it's not Ontario.
Right.
Like you feel like you're,
Somewhere
I don't know,
else.
like in like Maine or something. Like everyone like is talking like, I don't know, in like sailing terms.
Yeah.
And Archie, if you want to see Mitch's
My cat.
cat's butt, check out YouTube.
It's being a parrot.
That's so cute. But yeah, everyone's like, it feels like a different place. And like we were boating past these like these lodges, and Brian's like, oh man, this lodge used to be like open to the public.
Yeah.
And he used to have a restaurant. Everyone would boat there and go get drinks and steaks. And it was like, what? That sounds so fun.
So cool.
And it was just cool. He's like, it's just like, it's not, a lot of people have sold their properties, or like the families have aged out. So there's not like,
Yeah, it'll kind of come back around, I'm sure. You know, like these things.
exactly.
That's how it goes.
Exactly.
But
it just sounded really cool. He's like, growing up there, it just sounded so rad.
I know when he was, yeah, like it would be such a cool place to grow up and learn to learn those waters, because it's like an ocean. You know, like we've said earlier, it's like huge
And
water.
and it's cool, like, you know, generationally, obviously, you know, his family's indigenous. Obviously, he's indigenous, and
Yeah.
just like it's just like generations of understanding that place.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's cool.
Very neat.
Very neat. So then, like day 2 and 3, like what can I say? Like they were
Yeah,
all
more
kind of the
fishing,
same. It was
grind.
more fishing. It was more grinding. But it was really cool watching, you know, Ryan progress through, because you know when you're on these fishing trips, the multi-day trips, you kind of
Yeah.
you do level up a bit.
Oh yeah, you dial it in.
You get more dialed, especially newer anglers. Like
Spending
the
time.
learning curve is really quick.
Yeah.
You could see his double hull beginning to develop, and
Yeah.
just understanding how to strip the fly, and obviously strip set, especially after that first one. I think he was like traumatized into strip setting.
Yeah.
So like, so you're dialing that in, and his all of his, you know, every day I was like, oh, you could see the cast going 5 feet further, another 5 feet further,
Yeah.
and that was really cool, you know.
Yeah.
and understanding the gear, and
Yeah. That's
it was
fun.
really rad.
Yeah.
And then I'd say the last day, I'm trying to think. One day we started the day with rain and then it ended sunny, and I think that was the last day.
Yeah.
And then that ended up being our best fishing day.
Oh, sick.
Like I think that little bit of a change, like
Started to switch things
it
on.
wasn't just nuclear high sun. Like the
Yeah.
second day was hot. I was like
Yeah.
hot. I
Yeah.
could have probably been in shorts.
Yeah.
And then the third day cooled down significantly on the
So
Sunday.
right when you guys were getting ready to sort of head out, the fishing started to change.
Yeah, I mean, our
The
last day
conditions.
was probably our best day.
Yeah.
We caught a bunch of
Classic.
fish, and then the sun came out, and then we started finding bigger fish.
Yeah.
And then I think, Ryan landed his PB. It was like a 32-inch fish. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I think I got like I think I caught a 10-pound, 35-inch-ish fish. We started getting some falls from bigger fish, so that was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
It was still a grind, but it was cool seeing some bigger fish and actually getting some to the boat.
Yeah. Oh, sick. Okay. Well, why don't we?
Well,
Bless
you.
Sorry. Why don't we switch over and talk to Brian?
Yeah, for
Hear
sure.
from
It
him.
was
So
it was a great
yeah.
trip. I mean, I really thank him for taking us out, even though the conditions weren't,
Yeah.
prime.
That's the way she goes. Well, let's hear from Brian and hear a little bit more about his fishing life, who he is as a guide, and talk to him now. And we're back. We've got the one and only Brian still with us. Brian, how are you?
I'm great. Like I just mentioned, I just got off the water, so I'm a little foggy, but excited to be here.
Yeah. Oh, stoked to have you too, brother. I mean, yeah, like a long day of guiding, and then you come do the podcast. It's great. Much
Yeah,
appreciated.
we definitely appreciate it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were fishing with Brian for 3 days, a couple weeks ago. But yeah, maybe before we get into the trip, like maybe we can just chat, Brian, a little bit about your fly fishing life, and also just like your history with the area. I kind of mentioned it in like the intro to this show, but yeah, like who are you? And you grew up in McGregor Bay on that land, so maybe just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I'm Brian Still. I'm from Whitefish River First Nation. Not familiar with the area. It's about 15 minutes from Manitoulin Island, which is the world's largest freshwater island. Really cool place to grow up, just surrounded by water. My entire life was kind of based on the water. My parents worked on the water and raised me on the water. And then picked up a fishing rod right away. Had lots of family that were super into fishing. So my summer spent while my parents were working, it was just always on the dock casting or just having an aunt or uncle taking me out on the lake, which obviously developed into my love for being on the water, but also just fishing. Through many years of my life trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I just kept going back and wanting to go back, be home and be out on the lake. And then that kind of developed into one day waking up and being like, man, I'm just going to be a fishing guide today.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of like had my wife now, she kind of encouraged me. It was like, oh, why don't we just make a fishing page, make a Facebook page. This is way back before, I'm not old, but I've been guiding it for like a decade. So not that long compared to season guides. But yeah, so it was back in the day when that social media thing was kind of like, just taking hold. And, we made a Facebook page. And I think 48 hours later, I was taking people fishing in my home waters.
That's amazing.
And then it's just been going since. And then started out gear fishing. Always loved gear fishing. Just grew up it wasn't really introduced till fly fishing until later on in my life. Once I started guiding, I would guide in the summer, and then I would head out to British Columbia for the falls. And then I would go out there just fishing on the rivers and stuff. Just got to seeing other people fly fish. Just kind of slowly grew on me. And then eventually one day I was driving down to a hardware store to pick up some cheap dragonfly fly rod from a home hardware in a small BC town, and then watching YouTube and going out. And I remember just whatever, took me a few days to hook into my first bull trout. But just fell in love with the feeling of strip setting into fish and strip setting into fish. Love that. But turned into fishing, made fishing on a whole nother level, turned it more into like a hobby, a passion. Always was. I mean, but I think anyone who flies, that's what I'm trying to say. But it just, for me, transitioning into the fly fishing happened there. And then I just fell in love with it and ran with it on the rivers, and then took that back home to my guiding and took that back to the bass and pike and muskie. And then, now I love saltwater too, as well, chasing that in the winter. So it was just all around just developing my career from the gear fishing to the fly fishing. And now fly fishing is my number one, what I like to do on my days off. And when I'm guiding, I love guiding everything, but fly fishing is kind of, it's a challenge. So I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the passion started out west for fly fishing, and then you brought it back for, obviously, and started warm water fishing, pike, bass, all that kind of stuff at home.
Yeah.
And just kind of fell into it from there.
Yeah, it wasn't something that I see much. I didn't see it often here growing up. I didn't know. I mean, there was one or two anglers around that I would see out on their boat doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool to bring it back and bring back the technique and then learn how to warm water fish them here.
And you were guiding at that point already, right? When you had gotten into fly fishing?
Yeah.
And did you have any like clients that like wanted to fly fish back then, or not really? It was mostly
yeah. Originally, probably my first few years, people would reach out for sure and ask about it, and I just really kind of still at that point didn't really know what it was.
Yeah,
just from seeing it and seeing a couple rods around the cabins I was working in and stuff.
Yeah,
and then as soon as I brought it back, as soon as like I was out west and learned how to fly fish and came back, instantly people were asking. So I was guiding right away. I was like, just jumped right into it. So that was obviously nerve wracking too, right? Being a gear fishing guide transitioning into that fly fishing world, especially when a lot of my clients have been like traveling the world and, doing a lot of really cool species. So then all of a sudden they're sitting in the boat with me. So it was just a really cool way to learn how to fly fish. And now I'm guiding pretty much mainly on the fly all spring. It's probably majority of my fishing bookings. Same with again in the fall. Same a lot of bass throughout the summer. So yeah, so just slowly building the business in my area and attracting more anglers to the area.
And where do you guide like specifically? Is it just that one area?
Yeah, so I guide like around my home waters, Whitefish River First Nation, but which is like right beside Manitoulin Island.
Yeah.
So I guide everywhere from McGregor Bay, the whole entire North Channel, all the way to Killarney, all around.
There's just so much water, right?
So much water.
Oh, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, and I do so much ripping in my boat. Like
we saw a lot of it.
Yeah. So especially that's the beauty about those tougher trips is you get to see a lot more of the area because I'm in mode just ripping,
trying to cover water.
Yeah. But I do everything. It's really cool. I have endless opportunities here to chase fish on the fly rod just from all throughout the season. So it allows me to travel far.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's wicked. And like, the business has kind of evolved. Like, Brian, you've got those awesome like glamping tents now. The marina, which is like, man, what a great place to stay if you're booked Brian for a couple of days. Like you can just, get off the water and crash right by the water. It's pretty wicked. And
those things are crazy, man. Like
Aldo
was sending me pictures of them. Awesome. Yeah, I was like, whoa, those are so nice. I was like, what? They're like really comfortable looking little like places. Like they're not like tents, like
no,
they're like legit, like cabins almost.
Yeah, we put a lot of effort. That's among the trees. That was the expansion of my fishing business. Just because accommodations, there's lots of them, but it was still tough to find for me, especially early in my career.
Yeah.
I'm always struggling. It gets booked up around here. So I just wanted to add that to my business.
Yeah.
And then there's just so many opportunities where we're like, oh, well, I want to make something that accommodates maybe just not just the fly fisher in the group or the gear fishermen, but maybe it's going to accommodate their partners and their family. And just add to the whole experience. So now like they get to come connect with the forest and spend the night in the trees in the luxury tent that has AC and pellet stoves and incinerating toilets.
Incinerating toilets look awesome.
Man. It's kick ass.
Yeah, no, it was such a good idea, and it was awesome getting to see them. Yeah, it's just like it's such a beautiful. It's like it's strikingly beautiful area. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to like put into words. I mean, there's just so much like that makes it unique. It's like you've got first of all, it's a great lake, so that's crazy. And then it's like, well, if you dig down from Lake Huron, and then it's like Georgian Bay, but then it's the North Channel of Georgian Bay, and then it's everything about like there's so many things about that area that it's like the largest freshwater island, Manitoulin Island, the biggest freshwater archipelago in the 30,000 islands plus, and then you have the largest freshwater fjord in Bay Fin. It's like this place is an ecological wonder.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's what makes it truly special to fish here too, because it's not just so much about the fish. I mean, obviously that's always what we love, but it's more the experience and just being out in this, surrounded by the La Cloche Mountains.
Yeah.
It's just so unique, and it's so unique to Ontario. I mean, Ontario is beautiful from one end to the other, but it's just such a hidden treasure that's just such a special place just because of the beauty and the thousands of islands. And then you got the Manitoulin Island and all its uniqueness with the waterfalls and the streams, which offer different kind of unique fishing opportunities. It's just, just endless with the fishing, but then the scenery is just on a whole nother level, which again, just kind of accommodates to everybody.
So when it comes to guiding, what are the fishing opportunities that you kind of like, offer? Like, are there any really unique kind of like, opportunities you're dialing in as of late?
Yeah, so like my whole season is kind of dialed in on the species I'm chasing, especially when it comes to the fly fishing focused. It's spring pike. That's super unique. First 2 weeks of the season, it's the sight fishing. So we're right in the 3 feet less water, surrounded by this beautiful views, but we're sight fishing just giant fish swimming around in the waters. Different years can vary on depending on water when the ice goes out. But when it's on, it's pretty unique catching those big 40+ inch fish in such shallow water and just seeing everything. And then from then I kind of continue on spring pike. They disappear for a little bit. They come back, feast on vegetation, which again is another great bite usually. But then through then you get really cool, unique carp opportunities. The gar pike spawn is really cool, which we witnessed on this recent trip.
Oh, cool.
Where we couldn't get him to bite, but for a brief 2 hours, we just were checking out some water for pike, and then I was like, "Oh, let's go check out the gars." And we have massive gars here, and it's really similar to saltwater fishing. Just the sight fishing and make sure you're nailing those casts. So I feel like a lot of people have liked that one. And then muskie on the fly, obviously
Huge.
Yeah, huge
Oh, yeah?
muskie here,
Yeah.
massive muskie.
Oh, sick. So it's a good muskie fishery. Like there's good numbers as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm known for. So I'm known for muskie. That's what I grew up. That's my passion. That's my number one fish. That's what I've dedicated my life to. Essentially, is that fish. And this happens to be probably the best place in the world to fish them, but also probably the worst, just because we have so much water. Such a hard time. But this is like the place where people are going to look for that fish. The one they've always been chasing, the big one. So this is well known for that. Fly fishing's tough for them. I do well sometimes early in the season. That's when I'm really focused on the fly fishing. If people want to catch a muskie on the fly, let's go out those first 2 weeks. Let's hope for that good ice year where like the muskies are in the shallow, sometimes even sight fishable. That's what's crazy out here. Sometimes you'll even see big fish. It might be 3 years ago, it was like 50-inch plus fish that were still in the shallows, and you could still cast flies at them, which was really cool. And then the bass fishing, that's what I move on to. Anyone who wants to fish in the summer, we still can chase bass, muskie, pike, but we have really unique sight fishing opportunities out here where it can put you on sand flats, boulders, and we're just sitting there kind of like waiting for bonefish or something. You're just waiting for those fish to come up over those ridges, swim along where they swim every day, and you can just put the fly right to them. And that's,
legit, it's that cyclical.
Yeah, it's
pretty cool.
I mean, it works out for most times. I mean, sometimes I get stuck.
Sure.
But
like Mitch, like the water is so clear. It's like when we're maybe not exactly like the Bahamas or Belize, but like you can. All these fish are sight fishable. It's like it's such a unique freshwater like experience.
Yeah, you were saying even some of the water looked tropical, even in color and hue.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, which I've seen photos of like the area, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like so teal.
Yeah, and it changes so much. I mean, within an hour of boating, it's just goes from everything. I have such dark, murky water that you can't even see, all the way to clear water where you can see even in the heat of the summer, you can still see 30 feet down to the bottom. Even right now,
30 feet.
Right now, a challenge I'm facing right now out here is it's too clear this year. Still doing great, but even today on my charter, we saw so many pike just floating over 20-foot humps, 15-foot humps, and like we're seeing them. We're like seeing them down below the boat. So that fly fishing just progresses with the sight fishing all year, essentially, and then obviously the fall targets just huck and flies. So the weed lines for the big fish.
That's cool, man. Can people expect to have like a pretty remote feeling experience when they're out there? Or is there like a lot of people that have turned on to this fishery?
No. So that's the thing about this fishery. I've been getting out here for a long time, and that's kind of obviously every fisherman's worry, guide's worry is, you want to respect the water. And I've always wanted to do it properly. And like this place, you can still, no matter what, be away from people. We have our busier seasons. but it's still nothing like anywhere in the world as far as fishing. I don't fish around people. I'm lucky enough that, and I think it's a challenging place to fish. I mean, it's a hard place to get to. It's a hard place to learn. There's lots of islands, lots of rocks, so it makes it a challenge. So anyone who does want to come out here, it's just you can go. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Just be safe and learn it. That's all it takes. So I feel like it's remote. It's remote. That's the hard part about it.
Yeah, and navigating all those shoals and stuff, I was like, oh my god, I don't know.
Oh, right.
How could you do that with no GPS?
Yeah.
I remember when I didn't get to go on this trip, so Mitch and I just went to Brennan Harbor, and they were trying to follow the guide around and desperately trying not to hit rocks. And I was like, I don't know how I would.
Our big thing was the waves because there was huge swells on Whale's Back, way out in the water, and our guide was just like, "Follow me, peace." And he's just gone. We're like, "Oh shit!" We're trying to follow him, and it's But
Yeah.
that's what's cool about that area is it does feel so. It can feel so, at least from Brennan Harbor, which was west, but I imagine it's kind of similar to where you guys were at, where it's it feels harsh, you can feel angry, which is in a cool way,
Yeah,
and remote and all that stuff.
We have our moody days out here. That's the trouble too.
Yeah,
it's a tough fishery. That's why I love it so much, is because it is tough. And then, but this is the place where you want to catch you want to catch big fish on Georgia Bay. This is the place to do it. It's just tough, and that's why it attracts more of those anglers looking for that next step in their angling. They're looking for that little, more of an experience, more of a challenge.
Yeah, badass though. It's like an adventure.
It's an adventure. Yeah.
Now, tough, but if I said are the bass forgiving if I went during bass season? I'm fuck, this is really hard for all this other stuff, but I just want to go smoke a few smallmouth or largemouth. What's the expectation there?
It's awesome. I mean, like I said, it's remote, but it's remote to an extent, right? There's endless possibilities. You can go more areas like Manitoulin, where it's a lot less forgiving on the limestone shorelines, but all sight fishing access, and then you're closer to many options for boat launches. So it just makes that, and there's still even shore fishing opportunities around the area as well that present good fishing all year round. So it's got everything and caters to everybody. It just all depends on what you're looking at. Even around my area, Birch Island area, it's still easy to access. You just gotta take your time.
Yeah.
And the fish are you still can come here and catch giant fish too, pike and muskie. But
it's I want to catch 100 bass. You can make it happen.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh man, the bass we were seeing were just they were insane.
You guys are seeing them all over the place, right?
Yeah, and they were chasing our flies and swatting at them and stuff, and yeah, it's pretty. We'd have to get them out of the water because some were definitely going to eat them, but yeah, it's cool. With so much to talk about, maybe since you're known for muskie, maybe let's just touch on that for a bit. What was the learning curve for you? You say you started with as a gear guide. You still a gear guide, and you're dialing that in. But what was that learning curve or that jump between targeting them on gear and then starting to target them on fly and then maybe becoming successful on fly?
The biggest challenge that I faced was probably the size, the presentation. Trying to mimic those big baits, because I'm doing a lot of big water fishing, deep water fishing over a lot of deep structure. Sometimes a year fishing shallower, but how can I make this fly make as much noise as double 10 bucktails ripping in at 5 miles an hour?
Dude, you should see some of his baits. They're so sick. They're huge.
Massive bucktails.
Yeah, and even just the rubbers nowadays, they're as long as your arm,
Yeah.
Using giant gear. So that was the challenge, was how am I going to do, because I worked at it. When I first started trying to fish muskies out here, it was so hard on the fly. It was days and days and days, where I'm just nothing. Nothing. But
not even a follow.
I bust out the spin gear, or the gear, and then huck the big baits, and I'm moving muskies. So that was the difference, was how do I start learning to cast bigger flies? In the beginning was what I was more focused on, but now as I progressed, it's more the timing I'm looking for, lining up those dates, lining up those full moons, new moons opportunities, lucking out with thunderstorms, high pressure, just like, focusing on what makes the muskies move. And that's what's really made the change for me now, as I'm actually able to find muskies on the fly, is just figuring out where they're going to be with the gear, and then going to those places at those key moments,
To be
moonrise.
able to use that gear.
Yeah, and then and then taking the fly rod just to where I know those muskies are, and then when they're going to be there likely, and that's where I've had probably my most success, where it maybe necessarily doesn't even mean the fly size. I can still get away with, maybe not a full-blown musky fly, but just being in the right place at the right time is really what I've focused.
Because you're saying like depth is super important, right? Like when you're on gear, you can basically target whatever depth, but on the fly, you gotta be more selective.
Yeah, it's hard to fish over that open big water, it's
And how
hard.
deep are the muskie hanging out? Like when you are fishing gear?
When I'm fishing, it's as it progresses through the season. The first 2 weeks
Yeah,
of doing stuff, I'm hammering them. Like I'm still 15 feet and under sometimes. Like
right.
sometimes even 4 or 5 feet of water, especially at night. It's just always
Yeah,
different. That's why where I was focused on those opportune moments. I can still get fish in the middle of August, come into a certain area on a full moon night, and going on along a 10-foot weed line.
right. Okay.
Yeah, so that's where it's they're still everywhere, but they like to focus out here, especially if it's hotter years like it has been. They do like to push off, and they'll be out sometimes in the abyss. I mean, we're
Like
open
deep.
water. Yeah, we're open water. We're open water casting and open water fishing, which is something that was so new to me when I was,
Oh,
growing up.
wow.
I wouldn't even know where to start with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, looking for bait.
Okay, right. Okay, yeah.
Even trolling big baits sometimes. Sometimes in the fall, I'm just trolling in the abyss. I'm just trolling over.
What? That's so sick. So just like
Like
basically
offshore
sharks.
fishing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically
that's so cool.
just chasing the bait and then
Yeah.
following the bait. So yeah,
Wow.
so they're everywhere out here. It's just looking for those, year after
Opportune.
year after year. I saw something that started to work, and it was just being at the right place when they're moving.
Dude, this fish is huge. Aldo just texted me this. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see. What the? That's crazy, dude. It's like a
Yeah,
tarpon.
yeah,
Oh my god, that's just crazy awesome.
yeah. I've done well with muskies. I mean, we're fishing Georgian Bay is super challenging.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'm always going for that 100 fish a year.
Yeah.
That's always the goal. Sometimes breaking it, sometimes not even close.
Wow.
But that's always the goal. And then big fish. I've caught a lot of, those 50 plunge inch. I've been lucky enough. But I spend every day. I mean, once muskie season opens, I fish every day until
Yeah.
it closes. So
One thing you brought up a second ago was full moon opportunities. That sounds like the coolest thing I've ever heard. It's a full moon and the muskie roll in 10 feet of water and you just fish weed lines.
yeah, weed line
And
stuff like that. Yeah, weed line where they're going to be, where they like to be. That's where they're going to be on full moon days.
Do you take
You know,
charters out at night? Or is
yeah,
that like your personal fishing? Oh my God.
no,
That sounds
no,
oh, that is cool, bro.
yeah, yeah. Night muskie charters are exciting, and yeah, it's just so it's chasing those full moons. I mean,
Yeah.
people act crazy, hunting, everything. Everything moves when the moon's doing
When
its.
the moon goes full, yeah, you're right. Everything
Yeah,
gets kind of strange and maybe the light helps too, right? Is it something like that too?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
fish
and
are
then for
just
night fishing, 100%
yeah.
full moons. I prefer new moons. New moons are my go-to days.
Okay.
Full moons are amazing days as well.
Yeah.
But just full moon or new moon, full moon for muskie fishing at night for sure. Because they
Just switches on.
You can see the water's so clear. You can see fall sometimes at full moon night, which is crazy.
Oh my God. That would
Yeah.
be so intense.
So insane in an awesome way. Dang, man.
How did you I mean, you grew up there, so this is a strange question to ask, but how did you, maybe not discover is the wrong word, but trying to form a good question here. It's how did you come to that maybe realization, or was it like an epiphany moment, or was it something you always knew that was going on? It's just that you finally came to understand the timing a little bit better.
Yeah, timing, and then just listening to the muskie community, over years, seeing it.
Right.
As I started progressing, I've always caught muskies my entire life, but I was never targeting them. I was always just trolling whatever Williams Walrus when I was a kid and still catching you'd catch big fish. But yeah, so it was just hearing that, maybe that rumor maybe just got in my head.
Yeah.
Maybe it started playing, hunting too, and then seeing it where it worked year after year. When I'm struggling. and we're grinding it out, not seeing fish. Full moon comes around, and all of a sudden I catch 4 muskies in a day.
Right. Yeah.
You know, where
You're
it's
like, maybe there's a connection.
and it just happens
Right.
all the time. You know, like. And like, yeah, sometimes I'm not lucky on full moon. Like, yeah, maybe we don't make contact, but we see fish. You know, like you go from not seeing fish to seeing fish, just like thunderstorms. Not seeing fish, seeing fish.
Okay, yeah.
And like, yeah, like I'll fish these spots so many times. You know, we experienced it when everyone is here. You know, I'll hammer a spot. I have so many, but I'll just hammer one because I know it's not a no fish thing. It's just a timing thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's how I've learned to just follow those moons. As far as obviously, I'll catch muskies on the worst of days when you're not meant to catch a muskie. But yeah, gotta go.
It's an exciting part about fishing, and it's almost like what people love about hatches too. You know, it's like this thing that's happening right now, and I have to get to the water because it's going to be sick. And it's like you kind of have that with muskie, where it's like, oh, full moon tomorrow, like get the rods out of the thing.
Full moon, new moon, like let's
cool.
go.
Yeah, to like hit a moment, you know, and you know it's going to be special.
Yeah, I'll be so tired from guiding. You know, I'll have like a full moon day, and then like I'll just get home and bug my wife or my friends or whoever I can sucker into like being like, let's go out just for a couple hours. You know, we start at 8 or 9 and fish till 11. You know, and like,
oh fuck, that sounds so fun.
That sounds super fun.
It is, man. It is. Yeah, it's chaotic.
Yeah, it's definitely chaotic. I can't imagine boating around there at night. I could barely imagine boating around there during the day. If I wasn't you.
Yeah, just gotta remember that you look at the treetops. So that was always told. Watch the trees, memorize the trees.
Well, that's
now
interesting.
Now we have navionics, but
navionics help. Yeah. But the trees, that's a good point because you can kind of get to know. True. Like to help with navigation. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's how we've always navigated around here at night when we were growing up. It was just because before this wasn't mapped until McGregor Bay wasn't mapped until recently. Like, I mean, it was always mapped, but it wasn't like an accessible in your face map, GPS, navionics until recent years, especially in consumers and everybody's. So, I mean, like, I just didn't even really have electronics in my boat till less than 7 years ago. So, like, they're still out there, but I was just trying to still figure out hustling, charters to pay for my boat. So like we were just always like I grew up just learning here and learning just by cruising around on sunny days with polarized glasses, and then at night just navigating using the trees and the horizons because they always stay the same and you can see that contrast. But
it's a really nice way to get to know a place. Navionics is great, but I mean that's way cooler. Get to know the trees. I mean that's badass. So you got muskie, pike, good bass. Is there any other things? Gar, of course.
Yeah.
What other opportunities are there? Are those? I guess those are the big ones.
Yep. Carp too. I mean, you can carp. Yeah, great carp opportunities.
That's cool.
Some massive carp spawns in the spring, and they stay in the shallows for long periods of time. Largie fishing. I mean, that's a really cool one on the fly, using top water in the weeds. Top water for largies has been great. So
I'm so excited for bass season. Oh my god.
Yeah, me too. It
always comes so late, it's like I think this year, well, it's third week in June. I think that's what it always is, right? Fourth down here, but up in I'm pretty sure up at Buckshot, which is like where I have a family cottage, just the third. It's the June 5th.
Oh yeah, like the Ottawa region, for sure.
Ottawa region
is a week different for some reason.
Yeah,
really seem to make
sense.
I
don't know why, but yeah, I'm excited for it. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be good.
Okay, like just before we get into we have a segment at the end of our show called Mitchie's Fishies Fives, where we ask each guest the same set of 5 questions.
Yeah.
Maybe just talk a little bit about our trip and why it was what the fishing was like and why it might have been a bit of a grind, and maybe a little bit of a funny moment with Ryan's struggles, because that became kind of a funny theme. It was he would trout set a pike or whatever.
Okay. What were some of the key moments from y'all's trip?
How much of a grind it was. That was it for me. So I'm getting used to it, even though every time it shocks me how I can get so dialed in. And then having an important, I wanted to do well, obviously wanted to show the SoFly guys some big fish. And so pressure's on, and of course Georgian Bay just hits me,
decides not to show up.
So we're fishing, grinding it out, You know,
That
when,
might have been because SoFly was there, Brian.
Yeah.
You know, that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
day
Well, it's funny.
before-
I
day
mean, it's so
before-
much water. Like they can go
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
not like a little lake where you're like, oh, they're not here. Let's go there. They're usually there if they're not here. It's like, oh, they're there.
Yeah.
Here, it's like, it's insane how much water you have to cover.
Yeah.
Day before, we had back-to-back 40-inch pike, just like so easy. And then obviously I was like, oh, they're here. You know,
Yeah.
this is where they are. They're still here. They're going to be here for another 5 days to a week.
Yeah.
Gonna hammer them. And then we
Yeah.
go to that spot and they're not there. First spot,
You're
guys,
like,
don't
oh,
hear this is going to be the magical spot. You know?
yeah.
No, and then we fished that 3 times that day.
Yep.
Like, it definitely was like a bit of a grind. Like we were catching fish though. Like we just weren't catching
yeah.
the ones we
Yeah.
were, you know, like I had seen Rob from Drift, you know, Rob from Drift has fished with Brian a couple times. They've got these drone shots of like the boat is surrounded.
Wow.
It's like surrounded by
Just
these
monsters.
huge pike in like 2 feet of water, you know, and like that. So it's like,
So cool.
you know, which is amazing, and I definitely want to come back and see if we can experience that one day. But so we were catching fish, but yeah, it was definitely you know, a bit of a grind, but we did see a lot of the area for sure.
Yeah, it's like the expectation I put on myself too, right? I sometimes get so
Mhm.
clouded just because I'm so like, oh, everybody, like, you know, I get so used to like always just wanting to produce that mega fish so people can take that, you know, like
For sure.
pick or whatever, you know. I just want people to catch their biggest fish.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, you know, I'm still stressing about a day, but we'll still be catching fish, and I'm still like, oh, this day's horrible, but we're still catching nice fish. But it was a grind. It was, you know, I wanted to put that big giant 20-pound pike in somebody's hands. And yeah, so we just kept working the weeds. That was the go-to. That was you know, that was my brain worked fresh weed lines.
Yeah, makes
And it was
sense.
just, yeah, and it was just slow, and it just kept. And in day 2, I was like, new day, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So like day 2 was the same thing. It was a grind, but we still caught some nice fish, but it was still a grind for that.
And Ryan got his first pike on the fly, right?
Yeah,
And the first day, yeah.
yeah,
That's a nice fish too. That's exciting.
and so many opportunities. Ryan was really
Oh, man.
Ryan had. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
if Ryan would not trout set all the time, had like 4 No, I'm just kidding. It was he had a lot of opportunities. It was cool because he was the newest angler in the boat. Aldo was doing a great job teaching him, you know, just to help perfect his cast. So it was like cool to watch Ryan progress.
Yeah.
And then, like I said,
That was really cool.
yeah, and I'm so
Yeah.
focused on catching that big fish that like Ryan hooks into this smaller pike in the morning, and like, you know, it's loved it because it's his first pike on the fly, which is a big moment. So it's like, you know, it's just so
for
cool.
sure.
Yeah, it's cool to be part of that, and then watch him learn. And he got the most chances in the boat. Like he got chances on really nice fish throughout the week. Like,
Oh man, dude,
and like
on the
wasn't even his
afternoon.
fault. It wasn't even his fault for the most part. It may be teasing him, but like most of it is just the way it goes, and they're being super weird behavior. They're nipping at the tail.
Totally.
So it's never his fault. So it was cool to watch him progress. And then at the very end was obviously the highlight, watching him get the nice pike. Obviously it wasn't mega, but it was his PB pike on the fly, I think.
For
and just
sure.
watching him perfect everything, you know, and then start dialing the strip sets.
Sick.
Yeah, it's cool to watch as a guide. So that was probably like what I was paying attention to, other than the slow fishing.
Yeah.
It's cool seeing somebody level up after a couple days. You know, they get more confident. You can see that he's like that double haul starting to turn around, and he's casting farther and being more confident. But yeah, that afternoon of the first day, man, the hugest fish ate his fly.
Yeah,
and you see them.
No way.
Like, dude, you see them come up from the deck. Like, you see them. You see everything. The water's so clear. So I'm up. I was on the stern. I can't remember if we were on the bow or the stern, but like Brian's with Aidas on. Brian's got. I don't know if we've even mentioned it. It's like the most beautiful fucking kingfisher boat. It's sick.
Nice.
And it's so spacious and clean and like clear of line traps. It's great for filming on too, by the way. Like, you know, Mitch, we all had more than enough room while 2 people were fishing, you know? Yeah. And then there's just this fucking huge pike comes up and like just swallows Ryan's fly, and he just yeets the biggest trout. And I was like,
that's awesome.
Oh!
That's what happens when you get so excited in like the heat of the moment. You know what I mean? Everything you know just goes out the window and you freak out.
Yeah,
it was fish like that. Yeah.
Especially when you're used to like, trout fishing or
Oh yeah.
then all of a sudden you're,
Oh man, we've all done it. Especially on a fish especially on the fish of a lifetime.
Yep.
Who
Yeah.
hasn't blown that 1,000 times? That's awesome. Well, it's cool you saw it though.
Yep. We
For
saw some
sure.
nice fish.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah,
Opportunities.
big
We
time.
saw some big pike cruising the shallows, floating over them. They just went
cool.
into it.
They
So
weren't
cool.
really. They just weren't. And one thing that was kind of interesting is, kind of it was kind of like it was a blessing and kind of a curse or double-edged sword or whatever you want to whatever analogy you want to use. It's like every fly was coming on this paddle tail fly
Okay.
that
Yeah.
like it kept dropping. But it kept dropping fish too. Like the hook wasn't. I don't know. It was sharp. It just. I don't know. The gap
Weird.
wasn't great, or they would keep short striking the paddle tail. But I will say, Brian, which is kind of interesting, which maybe touch on before we get to the Mitchie's Fishies 5, is like I've never used paddle tails as much as I did that weekend, and like it's a really cool way to get volume in your fly without mass. So like for casting, Mitch, it's like oh now all of a sudden you have a huge long fly that's actually
Right.
quite relatively speaking lighter.
It's lighter. It's streamlined in the air, but then when it's in the water, it moves water and it makes noise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can
That's cool.
You can make any fly big. You can turn
Right.
a 3-inch fly into a musky fly with that paddle. Like I've
Yeah.
gotten so daring with how far I've gone with that long leader in the summer.
Yeah.
Or like the material in between, and like still like you'll miss fish, but you'll still get big fish. Funny enough, just the guy I was guiding today, I guided him 3 weeks ago for pike. Same thing, never really wasn't into the paddle tails and stuff. Got him using the paddle tails, made him use it all day, the same paddle tail, till it worked back to back with big fish. And then today he showed up with a pile of paddle tails in my boat for his day.
Like,
Well,
let's go.
I think Aidas, the first thing he did when he got home was he ordered a pack of paddle tails. he's been tying paddle tail pike flies ever since he got home.
So
But it's interesting.
funny.
This is something I never really. I just had that one fly in my box, and I was just like, it was one of the ones, Mitch, that Chloe sent us.
Yeah.
And I was like, and Brian was like, that one, use that one. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't take it off. I was like, but yeah, it's interesting. It's cool. It's cool fly design for sure.
It was the only fly getting to bite. I mean, it was the only fly getting consistently eaten over
It's
the
funny,
field.
eh?
Yeah.
Just because it's just the action of it. Well, cool. Okay, well, why don't we pop on down now and over to Mitch's Fishies 5, which is a segment of the show we ask all of our guests same 5 questions when we do episodes. Brian, we're going to ask you them right now. So the first is, what is your favorite fish and why? If you had to pick a favorite fish, what would it be?
I'd have to pick 2. Yeah, I'd have to pick 2 because I don't know how to say I love one or the other, but muskie and tarpon. Muskie,
okay.
I grew up, and that's my love, and that's the beginning, first chapter of my life.
Love it.
And then tarpon because that's the next chapter of my life.
So if you had to pick one of those, kind of sounds
Probably
like
muskie,
brother.
Yeah, I'd have to do
Tarpon
it.
are so cool, right?
Oh my God.
So cool.
They're
but
so cool.
Yeah.
And you've gotten the chance to fish you've fished tarpon a lot, eh?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's my
So you like big old fish. You like tarpon, and then the freshwater, like we saw earlier, like that fish you had in that photo was basically a tarpon. It's huge.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Muskie's cool. Like we've talked a little bit about muskie on the show. Like, we've had different people on over the years to talk about it, but it's still like relatively that fishery that like, I don't know, like people don't talk about it that much. Like I think it's like really hardcore anglers get really into muskie,
Yeah, I still feel like I feel like a couple years ago it got a bit of a spotlight, but it's gone back to that kind of culty thing.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, that's what it boils down to. It's hard and it doesn't work out when you don't have all the time in the world to fish all the time. It's one of those species that takes time. I think that's what really kind of keeps it, more hidden.
What do you like about muskie? Like, why are they your favorite fish?
The challenge and just the behavior, the curiosity of them.
Yeah.
Just the stuff I've seen them do in my life: eat big beavers, do some big
Jeez.
stuff. I don't even swim anymore. It's so crazy. I swim I love going in the ocean. I love diving, but I will not jump in bayfin over 40 feet. Like not, just because I They don't eat humans. They don't bite humans. But why don't they? You know?
True, right? Yeah, like when they're bigger than you. I mean,
Yeah, they could if they wanted to. They could do some damage. So that's
so
why I think
cool.
I love them. Just their behavior, their uniqueness, and just their overall size and aggression.
Yeah.
But
Love it.
playful. They'll be playful 1 minute, and then they'll be aggressive.
Yeah. Sounds like my cat, Rick.
Yeah.
Just like
If
my
you could
kid.
fish anywhere in the world right now, assuming it's like the best time to go, and you're gonna have an amazing fishing trip, where would you go and why?
Belize.
That was
Yeah.
easy.
Been going to
Yeah.
Belize for a long time. Love Belize. So yeah.
What's special? Why would you want to go there?
I have some good friends, mainly company I fish with.
Yeah.
Just from going over there years, developed that, but also just the easy access to do it yourself fishing. I
Right.
go there and I wake up every morning and I have coffee and I fish tarpon just from a dock or from the shore or from the flats or my golf cart that I'm renting. Um,
That sounds so kick ass. I know we recently talked about it because Aldo's been there a bunch of times and not long from like the last few months. Sounds amazing to be able to just wake up, like you say, have a coffee, walk down to the
Oh,
beach, and just be like, "All right, let's fish."
yeah.
it's just
Like-
sick. I had a feeling you were going to say Belize because it's just like, it just rocks.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, number 3 is, what is one of your best or favorite fishing memories from all time? If you had to remember and pick one that really stands out, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
I know so many.
My first 100-pound tarpon in Belize.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
tied together. Yeah,
yeah, no, that would it's my more recent one.
I love
Okay.
talking about tarpon. Oh my
Years.
god.
That was that was a challenge. I don't know.
what's the story? Yeah, what's the story behind that one?
I've been traveling, trying tarpon a lot on my own, doing guides and stuff, and then just really finally hooking to that first one solo, walking the beach and seeing it. And,
Solo, just
Yeah.
walking alone.
hooking into it and then battling it through the chaos and reef that I don't even know what I'm stepping on. They're like, the shoal shallows and chaos, and then getting it to hand and hugging it.
Yeah.
Then throwing me around and letting it go in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing swims off, and you're like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah. Just
Like
the challenge of being in a new spot, catching
Yeah.
something like that.
That's amazing. You did the just walk on the beach. That's
Yeah,
so sick.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing.
Fuck, I love tarpon.
It's like folklore, like just walking the beach and then hugging this 100-pound fish, and it's like "Whoa," and swims off.
Yep.
It's a pretty
For
cool
sure.
moment, man. Okay, number 4, Mitch's Fishies 5 is, why do you fly fish? Why do you even bother?
Yeah. Why did I bother on Georgia Bay?
What keeps you going back?
The challenge, and just the connection with the fish. I feel it's more intimate. It's more just feeling everything through my fingertips on the line.
Yeah.
And just the overall eats, the takes, the visual aspect of it. I love seeing fish eat. And it always happens on the fly. Like, those, especially when pike or muskie fishing, it's up high in the water column. So I get to see everything. And just the casting. I love casting. It's relaxing. It's a good stress relief. It's, just.
Dude, you're a fantastic caster.
You just got to be into it. You got to be in tune. You can't just be out there being lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes you
And it really is like a holistic thing. Like, there's so many aspects to it. You're right.
Yeah.
I dig it. Okay, number 5, Mitch's Fishies 5 is, what fly pattern represents you best and why? If you were a fly pattern, what would you be?
The pike leech, the black, just because I'm so like basic. As far as my like fishing is, like I like just basic fish.
Yeah.
I like basic flies. I like basic lures.
Yeah.
So the pike leech, I'd be nice and simple but effective.
I love it. Nice big old pike leech. It's great.
That's a great answer.
It's a great fly.
Well, Brian, I think we've come to that's kind of almost the end. The only thing we'd ask is shameless plug time. How can people find you, book you? How can people book amongst the trees? How can people find you and enjoy a day on the water or in the woods with you?
So on Stillwater Fishing, which is my social media platform, Stillwater_fishing. You can find me there on Instagram and TikTok. My websites for my fishing would be fishmanitoisland.com. Among the trees, glamping.ca for my glamping business. But just Google Stillwater Fishing. Manitoulin should pop up, but essentially follow me on social media. I do a lot of content.
Boom. There we go. Yeah. No, it was really awesome to chat, and I'm sorry I missed the trip. Thanks for having all the fellas up. It sounded like it was a blast. And
Yeah, it was really special.
Yeah.
Like we it was a grind, but we learned a lot. And for me personally, I really did enjoy watching Ryan. Like just, and also
Yeah.
just because he now being engaged to Mattia is like going up to that area, so you could see like him getting so excited about the next time he got to go on the water, and that was really special. So yeah, thank you for your time. It's really valuable to us. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. It was awesome to finally meet you in person, like I said. So it's cool to have you guys up here. And anytime, you're welcome back.
Great. Rock and roll.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one.
Cool. Well, that's Brian of Stillwater Guiding. Thanks for coming on, Brian. It's very cool to hear about your fishing life.
Jesus.
Life. Oh, I'm falling apart over here. My God. It's 8:00. It's 8:00, and I must be lonely. It's 8:00. I must be lonely. What is that? Dave Matthews. We've got Matchbox 20. Is that who that was?
Oh well, I was thinking Matthew Good earlier.
Sorry,
and that's Matchbox 20.
Matchbox 20.
It's 8 p.m. I must be. I'm hungry. Actually, it's 8 p.m. and I'm hungry.
We'll go eat some dinner. But first, we'll just round this out with a little outro here. I mean, I don't know. What else we have to talk about? We've said so many things. I mean, do we have stuff coming up?
I
think not.
I think not. I think we're just looking forward to Bass Opener. And I hope
right around the corner.
I hope everybody's enjoying their spring. I've, been chatting with a lot of people, especially at that Good Lot thing. And everyone's having a pretty wicked trout year. Like I'm seeing a lot of big fish being caught. And that's awesome. So, which is really
tip
cool.
of the hat to all your trout anglers out there.
Yeah. Nice job, Ontario. You're doing it, baby. But I think big takeaways, man, I just love pike fishing. I think it's it's the most fun aside from a really banging dry fly night on the Credit or the Grand or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like if I was the Mount Rushmore of Ontario angling for me is pike fishing, sight fishing for pike, dry flies for brown,
and then
bass fishing in the summer in the lily pads.
Yeah.
And then steelheading. That's
that's it.
And people listening are like, yeah, well, those are the four things you can do here, you idiot. But I don't know. I'm not really I don't know if I'll ever be a muskie grinding out kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you. I mean, pike.
I'm kind of falling out of love with nymphing for trout. I really do like the dry fly thing. I'm not a streamer junkie. So
no, me neither.
Yeah.
Dry fly fishing's so fun and exciting for kind of what Brian talked about, it's like that time and a place thing. It's just it's just an exciting thing when all the stars align. You have magical moments,
Mm-hmm. But I think chief among them is still
pike.
Just, man, sight fishing for pike and watching them turn on the fly and just smoke it. It's so exciting.
I'm very excited for bass. And I'm talking dragonfly, dry fly fishing for bass, dragonfly patterns,
poppers,
baby dragonflies.
Gurglers.
Okay, I call that dry fly fishing a dragonfly. In the pond, man, they love the dragonflies, and don't you forget about it.
I gotta get the maiden voyage of the yak, buddy.
That's right. You got your yak. You can take out this year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got lots of fun things coming up then, fishing wise, but hopefully all y'all do as well, and stay tuned for more events and ways to get involved to help the Credit River avoid a mega quarry, and more. And there's also going to be some film content coming out of this last project with Brian here. So stay tuned for that on our YouTube channel, So Fly Fishing. And rock and roll. I suppose that's it, isn't it?
Isn't it?
All right. Well, as usual, that's it for me, Mitch. Y'all know.
That's it for me. Check us out, info@sofly.ca.
Yeah.
The SoFly crew on our socials. And yeah.
Thank you. Take care.
Comb your hair.